Welcome back. This is Adventures with Dr. Joe. I'm super excited. I just got my PRUSA XL upgrade to go from 1 to 5 print heads. So let me show you what's in the box. PRUSA actually announced this earlier than expected. They said it would be available sometime by the end of February, but the announcement came February 5th. I ordered it that day and received it in about 1 week. It comes with 4 XL multi-tool neck extruders because I already have one that needs to be upgraded, and here's the single tool upgrade kit for that one. In addition, it comes with the electronic expansion kit, some instructions, and of course, some gummy bears. So once we've unpacked the boxes, we need to go online and look at the instructions that are in PRUSA. They're basically at help.prusa3d.com/guide. And this is the introduction, the very first step in this process. And I'm going to acquaint you with 2 sets of tools that have helped me out a lot. One is a very inexpensive set of Torx screwdrivers that I use all the time. I'm going to put a link for that. And then this is a set of Eklund ball and hex drives that are really nice to use instead of just those little angled 90-degree steel pieces. So I'll put a link for both of these. They're both very inexpensive and they work really great. So we're going to get to the directions and start the process. Okay, so here's my enclosure. Try to take it off. Set it aside. And now we can get at everything we need here. Okay, before we disconnect the power, we need to go to Control, move Axes, Z, because we need this print bed really low. So we're going to lower it basically all the way down as much as we can. That'll give us a lot of room to work here and in the back. So please note, I've already unloaded the filament and cooled down the printer. I went to the control panel to temperature, cool down, so everything's cool. Then I turned it off and unplugged it. So I have my Wi-Fi antenna secured in kind of an unusual location, and then release the PTF tubing, the Teflon tubing, from here. You do that by pushing that little black ring in, and these come straight out. So we need to disconnect the neck extruder connection, and these are the T10s. Just loosen these a little bit. And this panel, or if you have the antenna connector, will just slide off to the side. Actually, I'm going to take this off. Okay, I took the cover off. Now we're going to disconnect this by pushing this little tab in and just pulling it out. There, we've disconnected that. Now we'll just put this cover back just to kind of protect things. So there's the neck extruder cable, the Teflon tube from the neck extruder that we have, because we only have one, obviously. So the neck extruder is attached to this frame with a 2.5 millimeter screw through here. Take it off. So we were going in through this larger hole to loosen that single screw that holds it to the rail. Now, using a new screw, a 3 millimeter, 10 millimeter long screw, we're going to put it in that opening that we took the neck extruder cable off, push it all the way to the left. Push this bar can go left or right. Push it all the way to the left and just snug it up so it doesn't move. Now we're going to detach the neck extruder by taking the cover off, which just snaps off like this. And then these are 2 screws we removed. They're T10s. We're going to save those. And then I'm going to remove these 2 screws as well, the top ones. And we're going to put this in safekeeping. For this next step, we need the tool changer upper, tool changer lower, these very fine springs these very fine springs, these very fine push pins. Basically these are Teflon. The 4 screws we took out and the cover. So first thing we're going to do is put those 4 push pins in these holes on the upper and the lower tool changer. I'm using this little forcep. I don't want to drop them. Okay. Fortunately, they give you an extra one in case you do drop it. All right, I didn't drop one. Now we're going to follow it up by putting these little springs in there. And they give you 4 of these, so don't drop one. Okay. And they're supposed to stick out a little bit like this. So these tool changers go in with that open loop down. These prominent screws will fit into a little slot. Fits just like that. Let's go ahead and secure that so we don't lose those springs. This is a T10, takes a Torx 10. We'll get 1 screw. Okay, relief. Get the other one in. Now we'll put this, the upper one in again, the opening down. Secure our first screw so there's no chance of losing those springs. By the way, there is an extra one in the kit. You actually get 5. There's 1. Now we can rest. We can take a sigh of relief. That's good. Very small, delicate parts. Get those nice and secure. And put the cover back on. Sneak it up. Snap it in place. Okay, we've gone through the first 4 chapters of the instruction. On to chapter 5. For this part, we're going to cut those cable ties. So be careful not to injure anything. Then we're going to remove the Teflon tube and release the 2 screws here and save these. I'm going to need them. So take these out and save them. The next step, we're going to use a T10 to go through this housing, upper and lower, not the middle one. And there's a screw there. We're going to unscrew those and save them. And this end will come off like this. So save those 2 screws. And by the way, that second one comes out through this side hole, which is pretty confusing. So I got mine out, but I had to drill this out a little bit with a 4.8 millimeter drill bit, whatever, just or carve it out because there was some of the printed material in there that was preventing the screw to come out. We need this part, which is the XL dock cable router. This is the parking tool. We need a 3x14 screw. This is it. We need 2 of these locking nuts. M3 small end, big end nuts. We need the 2 M3 12B screws that I took from the front and the M3 by 8 Torx that I took from the previous step, and then finally one of these nuts, which is an M3 NS nut. The next step is to take that nut, put it in this little slot here. Okay, to get this to fit, I had to file it down, and I had a very small diamond file to get it to fit in there. Then I'm going to have to push it in there with this plier. Then look down this hole here, and you can see the nut and be sure it's centered. And if it's not, use a device that'll center it. So it needs to be centered in that hole so the screw can engage the nut. Okay, the next thing is to take that 14mm screw, put it through the middle hole, and then turn this thing around. It's going to mount in this backwards, just like that. Then take that taper head screw, put it in the hole here in the top, and then we'll tighten it through here, and it threads into this new piece. So you can see us threading that in there. Nice and tight. Now we're going to do the next one that goes through that side hole. Okay, I got the screw, got the Torx driver. We're going to push it back through, and then hopefully we can engage it. There it goes. And then tighten that baby up. We're set. The directions say to put the new nuts in here, but I left them in place. So we need the cable support, line it up properly. Goes this way, fits in here. And then those two M3 by 8 screws. There's the second one. Tightening that. Now we're going to replace that Teflon tube. Just be careful to keep it in nice orientation. There we go. These are the parts for the next step: the nozzle seal, that spring, and a couple zip ties. Okay, so basically we want to just take this cable and gently lay it in here, and then we're going to put the two zip ties around this. So there's a nice notch here where these go. Okay, so put the spring on the screw for the nozzle seal, and then it goes right in here. And that needs to engage in that nut we put in there. And it does. Do not over tighten this. A few turns is enough for now. So there we go. Look at that. Okay, so from the front side of the neck extruder, we're going to release these two screws that hold the cable. And release that. Now we're going to release the Teflon tube and the neck extruder cable. Alright, we're going to take these two screws out using the T10 screwdriver. Save them. We're basically taking this apart. Flip it over. Take these off too. Okay, once they're loose, we'll take those out, save them. Now this will come out. Be careful when you remove it, this threaded nut will come out. Okay, we're just going to open this cover, gently move the fan to the side, take this screw out and leave it out. It's 2.5 millimeter. I'm going to put the fan back. I'm going to put the 3mm by 20 screws back in. They're a T10 screw. Next, we turn this over and we're going to take this grub screw out. You can see the nozzle is loose. Careful, don't lose it. And we're going to replace it here. For this next step, we're going to need the tool changer cable, the hot end fan shield, which is this printed part, one of these really long screws, 30mm, and then these are the two M38 RT and the M38 BT. So that's the taper head and the pan head. So turn the tool changer over and plug the cable in, just like that. By the way, these all have magnets, so everything sticks to them, so just be careful. Okay, we're going to take the taper head screws, put those in the fan shield, and they're going to fit onto the tool changer right here. So there's the fan shroud on the tool changer. Okay, for the next step, we need to find this space here between these two nuts because we need to insert our wire. And there's the wire coming out. Okay, so now we're going to turn the tool changer over. There's a slot here where this will fit. Be sure the cable's not pinched in any way. There we go. Put those two screws in there. And this is a T8. Now we'll turn it back over. Here we use the 30mm screw, a brand new one, to secure that fan shroud down to this long nut. And then that will fit just like that. There we go. You can see the fan shroud over the fan. Okay, now we're going to open this the shroud and expose this board and all the electronics because we've got to plug this in. This is where it's going to go, right at the end. So we can see it here. Put it in there. There we go. Be sure that these two wires are nice and free. That's for the thermistor on the hot end, and these two wires are for the heater that goes to the hot end. This is a good time to take a break. Have a gummy bear. For this next step, we're going to need the power unit cable. This is the downturned AC unit. This is the power unit cover. And we're going to need these screws. 3x6, those two little ones. A 3mm by 20, and then a 4mm by 12. So we're going to bring those over to the back of the printer. First thing we're going to do is release these two screws. And connect the cable to those. These are the connectors we're going to use. These just fit beneath the flat washer. Next thing, we're going to put this little connector in. This is the 4mm screw with a 3mm hex opening. Now we're going to place 2 screws here, large head. Just put them in loosely because it's going to slip over these, and then we're going to tighten them in a second. Just like that. Now we'll put this down angle adapter in here, push it in hard. The wires will be fed through this hole here into the back of the printer. Here we go. Then we've got to hook this in here. Nice. Yeah, it fits just like that. So now we're going to put that 20mm screw in from this side, and if we were good, it should line up. There it is. We'll tighten these up, and our power supply is there. This is a really important thing. We need to turn the switch on, and then we're going to cover it with this switch guard. So there's a close look at it right there. Now we need to cover this up with this switch plate and these 3x10mm screws. These screws should be visible here, and then there's a little indentation that's going to go over the nut. So to get this flush, it needed a little encouragement, but now it's installed and in good shape. Okay, before we pull those cables out, we need to take this off, which is loosening 4 screws. And then that just slides up and out. Then we'll take these screws out. And we'll take this cover off and this cover off. So now we can retrieve these cables by just pushing this wire up out of the way of the hole and bringing those down, and then we're going to remove these zip ties because we're going to add some additional cabling and new ties. We're going to take these last 2 screws out. Again, these are a T10 Torx bit. And there's that final little panel exposing everything. Now we're going to cut these 2 cables, zip ties. Be really careful how you do that. There we go. Now we're going to turn it around again. So let's take a close look at those screws. These are a little tricky to put in. There's 2 there and 2 there. Basically this cable guide just slips over those 2 screws. Okay, that's how it looks. And those end caps cover, they're on top of, or the vertical piece is inside of, underneath of those 2 caps. We're going to flip the printer around and put in the electronic splitter. Okay, at this point we're going to put the splitter in. Goes in this slot. It just fits into that connection. Nice, just like that. Then these wires come around and go up over the top and get connected here, red positive, black negative, to the 24 volt. I recommend putting the screws in these cables first. Okay, you can see how those fit. Wires go up and over. They're screwed in here again, red to positive, black to negative. One thing I might add is I did not disconnect the Wi-Fi antenna cable because that's a very difficult connection to make. I didn't want to mess with it, so I just have the antenna wire just sitting here free. Note the correct orientation of the wires and the screws. Okay, now we're going to install the filament cable wire into this connector right here. just like that. Then we're going to zip tie this cable bundle together. Now we're going to put all those cable covers back. When you're putting these cable covers back on, be careful not to pinch any wires. Be sure they're all free. Look at this, filament wire needs to come through this notch here. Now, this is called the buddy cover. We need to bend this piece down right here. You can see me bending it to about 90 degrees. And then this fits back over here. Let's put the filament sensor in. First we're going to put one of these spring-loaded nuts. They just fit in like that. We'll click the sensor on there. And we'll just screw it into place. I'm going to put it pretty high. Okay, this next step we're going to install all 5 of the extruders. First of all, this is the one that we rebuilt. It has this small extruding screw right there that needs to fit into that bar that we put in, or that we've already anchored to the left and screwed one screw in there. So it has a protruding screw right here. You can see that. And through the center hole is where we'll tighten it. And we need to bring it up and over and attach this one to the very first screw in that sliding bar that we've already secured, and we do it through one of these holes. So I'm going to use the 2.5 millimeter Allen key. Got it. Now we're going to do the other 4 as well. Okay, before the very last one, take that 3 millimeter by 10 millimeter screw out of there, and then we'll put the very last one of these in. Put the last one in using the 2.5 millimeter hex. So it's very important that these are tight. So you test them by trying to move this bar. You can, and if you can move it at all, it's not tight enough. Okay, now we're going to attach the docks. The first dock goes in here at the top, the second down here. I'll put number 2 in. All right, 1 and 2 clicked in place. Yay. Now I'm just going to put that cover back on. I put this cover back on because I'm going to bring the antenna out through here. Now we're going to take this cover off again. And then we've got 3rd, 4th, and 5th neck extruders. And again, I'm going to bring my antenna out through this hole in the cover. Put a washer over it, a lock washer, and a nut, because it wouldn't fit in on the printed part that came with it. So this turned out to be a really good option. There we go. Now we're going to connect those Teflon tubes to the filament sensor. There's 1, 2, 3. Then over here, we've got 4 on the top and 5 in the middle. Now to reinstall the Wi-Fi antenna, just screw it in here. There it is. So at this point, you put the spool holders. There are 2 on this side, 3 on that side, but I'm taking all my filament out of a filament dryer, so I'm not even using any of the spool holders. So the next step is to put the leash on here and tighten those 2 screws, connect the cable here, and connect the Teflon tube, and then the 2 pins go through the white holes of the holder, and then that's it. We're going to do the rest of these right now. So for the second one, got to loosen these two screws that are T10s, Torx. Get that hooked up right in there. Tighten these. Connect the cable. Goes in here. The clip goes on this direction, and the pins go in this direction. So I'll just click in there like this, and then the Teflon tube goes in here, and then we can put this through those two white holes. There it goes, right there. It's two. Let's just do one more really quickly. Loosen those screws right here. Put the band on, the leash. Connect the cable. And the Teflon tube. I also loosened this with a T8 so I could move the hot end. I put on the first one, because I had a 0.6 millimeter nozzle. Now I traded it out to a 0.4, and then I put the silicone cap on it and re-secured it, and I put the silicone cap on all the other extruders. The next step is to calibrate the nozzle seal. This, like a rubber band thing, has to just touch the tip of the nozzle without deforming it or bending it. There's a 2.5 millimeter hex drive screw here. Turning it clockwise brings that down away from the nozzle. Counterclockwise brings it up. So adjust it so it's just touching, and you do that on all 5. It's tedious. So those are all the steps in the assembly, going from 1 to 5 heads in the PRUSA XL. If this was helpful, please click thumbs up. Consider subscribing. The next video will be on the first run. Thank you.